many that are here that have acquired qualifications, but they've managed to make use of the education and the experience they've acquired whilst they were in the university studying, and also once they were doing the practical which is required during your studies. So this platform, starting from today up to Friday, we hope that it's going to take us to a direction that is going to change the situation, so that we can prove that as students that we have studies and as professionals in this field, more opportunities are opening up. We're all able to open up doors, not only in South Africa. That's why this conference is focusing in Africa, it's focusing in the UK, it's also, we have speakers in the US. So this interaction is not meant for you to remain here. You must go and explore if there are opportunities that are coming up. You must go and explore those opportunities wherever they are. The person who's supposed to welcome us all here is Professor Mhlungu. In this conference is in partnership with the Department of Human Settlement, together with the University of Fort Hare. Prof, can I welcome you? I don't have to introduce you in this platform. If you don't know Prof, after today you go online and get more about him. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I did not realize there are going to be so many people. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Sakela Mhlungu, Vice Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare. I was saying earlier when we were waiting in the waiting room, I said that just in case you miss it, it's not Fort Hare University. It is the University of Fort Hare. And if it wasn't this conference, I would say there will be penalties that go with getting the name wrong, but we'll forgive you for this conference. Thank you very much. Program Director, my slight difficulty is that of the honored guests. This happened when we have hybrid. I don't know who of the invited speakers are here or connecting, and so you please pardon me. I will get a little note for people to acknowledge at the appropriate time while I'm still here. So please therefore permit me to greet everyone, and no offense if I greet you later. It's very important. But I will greet the participants of the conference, because I can see they're all here, and they come from, I believe, from many different kind of corners of the country and the world, and so welcome to this conference. But most importantly, welcome to the University of Fort Hare. It's the most important thing. Welcome to the University of Fort Hare. By the way, just don't make a mistake, this is a hotel next to our campus. Next to our campus. You will get a taste of the campus in the next 2 days. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the university and to make a couple of remarks. This area of teaching and learning and research is a relatively new one. As an area of professional practice, it's a new one. That's my understanding. But as an area of academic study and research, there've been some years now. I believe that universities, mainly the Nelson Mandela University, has been teaching, has a freestanding school or department. The University of Fort Hare is involved in teaching. I believe that 1 or 2 others have also a dedicated department, UNISA, I'm told, UNISA. There's a department, there are other universities that teach only at honors level, but not undergraduate. So all of those, but all of this endeavor, academic endeavor, is relatively new to all of us. So, with reference to Fort Hare, for example, Mr. Mongo, you remind me, the first cohort of our human settlement graduates, the first one to graduate, graduated in 2019. Yes. In 2019. So that they would have taken those years building up and graduating, completed in 2018 and graduated in 2019. So that's how new it is. We have since graduated them in 2020, and we graduated some earlier this year, and of course on the 12th of November there may be some more. And I'm sure Professor Mbanga, it's the case with yourselves as well, that you've got people who have come through the pipeline over the years, and so it is gratifying therefore that we're not talking hypothetically here. We're talking about people, professionals, some of whom are in the room. In fact, a lot of them are in the room, either still in the system or who have since graduated. So it is very important. So I don't know much about this, and I suppose the chair I sit on, it's unavoidable to speak on things that you know nothing about. So, and it touches the moment now. I know very little about this new discipline called human settlement. I know very little, I must declare up front. But I do know from a distance that it is an exciting area. It is an exciting area for study and for research, because it provides opportunities for what many people refer to as transdisciplinary studies or research and interdisciplinary studies, forms of scholarship. So in other words, we can bring together bring to bear on this at the training various fields which traditionally would not have been brought in. So that's the interdisciplinarity that you're talking about. I also believe that this young discipline has a very important role, a crucial role in fact, in socio-economic development and planning, development planning in the country. Very, very important role. And again, please pardon me, I don't know what you teach and I don't know what you learn when you're there. But I think there is a role there, and let's talk about that a little. I woke up in Alice this morning, so I drove through. It's 120 kilometers, for those who know. Okay, 120 kilometers. And I drive that route quite often. What never stops to fascinate me, and I'm using this area as a case study, but also in other areas as well, is the rapidly changing social geographies of this area. If you've not been to Alice or beyond King Williamstown in the last 2 years, you'll be blown away by the changes, just the changing patterns of human settlement as you drive there. I arrived in the university in 2017 February. The area that I saw when I arrived is completely beyond recognition now. It's changed completely. Okay, so those are some of the things. So 120 kilometers between our two campuses, the large campuses. It's marked by different and ever-changing forms of human settlement. Of course, people are creative. Communities are creative, and in the way that they try to better their conditions. You have informal settlements along this route, and they're popping up all the time. They're growing. You have the townships along this line, and you see them as you drive. You have villages. I mean, there's one spot, if you drive, there's a village called Ngahuni. It's a sprawling village. Across the valley, you'll see it. It's endless. Your eye just never gets to the end of it. That's that. Also, those villages are growing. And more recently, there's a new pattern of settlement, a belt almost, between King Williamstown and Alice, of new houses. Many of them quite palatial, big. Yeah. But actually, some of those, they build them in 2 weeks. If you haven't been there for 2 weeks, I bet you're going to come across a new house that's finished and big. I mean, people talk about the economy is down. I don't know where the money comes from. That's not why I'm here. That's not why I'm here. But I'm intrigued by it. And I imagine human settlements students and researchers would be even more intrigued by it. What's going on here? So that's that. So just drive down the R63. You'll see what I'm talking about. houses that you will not find in some of the small towns, such as Alice. So it is exciting to see this, that people are doing something about their lives. But at the same time, this chaotic and unregulated sprawl, the lack of planning, the absence of regulation, any form of regulation, the poor quality of some of the structures, and I'm not just talking about shacks, I'm talking about physical, rather built-up structures, brick and mortar structures, poor quality, poor workmanship, including some of the so-called RDP houses, very badly built. I mean, it's shocking, it's a disgrace in some cases. Okay, we're not going to be talking about that. All of these have implications for the future. They have implications. And those of us who are in different fields, we have no idea. And I think it's people in this room, this group, that have a much better insight on what this means and what the implications are. But from where I sit and from what I observe, it's extremely troubling. Now here's where it has a knock-on effect on us as universities. And I can count, because I know Walter Sulu is sitting in a similar situation, surrounded by villages. But they're kind of getting closer and closer and closer. Just go to Mthatha, you'll see. Okay? Go to Alice, go to Zululand, go to Venda, go to Limpopo. Sefako Makati is in the township, facing the same thing. So, what are the implications of sprawl for us as universities? And I'm using universities just as an example. One of a new phenomenon in Alice is that every quarter now I receive a delegation of irate stock farmers. Very angry. They want to talk to me because nobody else gives them any joy. And what's the problem? You know, our cows and goats have been impounded by Fort Hare and they've been sent to King Williamstown and to Statoran because there's no livestock pound in Alice. And when we go and release them, we have to sell at least one cow to release the rest. Because it's not just releasing them, it's also the transportation. You need a truck. Now, this may sound completely, totally removed from human settlements, the discipline that you so engaged in. But actually it has a direct bearing. Livestock grazing land is being hijacked by gangs in front of our eyes. So that livestock gets pushed out. Farming land that's lying fallow is being hijacked by these gangs. I'm told they sell a plot 5,000 rand a shot. Farming land is similarly being hijacked. So, and people here farm, they love their livestock. But now the livestock land for grazing is shrinking ever and ever. And now, talk about greener pastures. The greener pastures are now Fort Hare Farm, our farm. And so some of the farmers cut the fence, push their livestock in at night. But sometimes livestock just go back and jump over, whatever the case. So we're facing a crisis, something that we never had as a university before. And you can say the same about other areas. It may not be livestock, it may be other things. But this is, we're getting impacted by this chaotic sprawl in our region. As a university, and you'd have thought that these are separate, they don't speak to each other, but they are. And this unplanned, and I suppose, I'm sure in human settlement, you do talk about planning. Planned use of land for residential purposes. Not just to put houses, but also there must be schools, there must be churches, there must be sports fields, there must be other amenities, community halls. No, they don't do that in that belt I'm talking about. Jesus. One plot after another, they just put a house. It's almost like saying, look at me, I've got the money. I can build a house in a month. It's that kind of thing that we need to talk about. And I imagine, and the excitement for me, therefore, of your discipline is that it cuts across some of these traditional disciplinary boundaries. We're stuck, in our fields, our discipline. But you have the latitude, and you have the tools, the research tools in terms of approaches to deal with these matters. So, this conference is being held here and by the Institute through its student chapter, and then I think again this is something unusual. In most of the professions and disciplines and so on, it's the adults, the professors just look after themselves and call conferences after themselves, and they invite their friends from overseas, and it's a friend and buddy kind of thing, and they leave behind the element of bringing people up, of mentoring, of getting people to participate in conferences like this. When we were students, we never participated in conferences of this kind. When we were young graduates, we never participated in conferences of this kind. So this, for me, is progress. What you've brought here is real progress in terms of intellectual production and intellectual participation in intellectual studies. And the theme, that's exactly where your theme is, about strengthening the sector, or sector-wide capacity development efforts. During the pandemic, during a very difficult time, and here we are, having a conference. And I think it's something, and that's why when I heard about this joint conference and the hosting, I was excited. That's why I thought I should come here. I wish I could stay through the 3 days, but I won't be able to. And but the country is in dire need of these professionals. So I'm saying it's absolutely dire that we have these people out in the field. They advise the government. So that something is done. So that something is done. The lack of planning, or rather planning as we knew it, the wheels came off a long time ago. Towns, cities, slum areas, and I'm speaking as someone who lives in Alice, a small town. Whenever you meet people who were there before, they say, what a beautiful town. But what I see now is not a beautiful town. Yeah. It's a town that has fallen apart. Mm-hmm. Services have collapsed. Water outages. Nobody expresses any surprise anymore. Sewer running into the Cumia River. Sewerage running into the I'm talking raw sewerage. And you can look at King Williamstown. It's becoming a slum of a town. Look at this one here. You just have to drive around. And so, when we tell the truth, and the truth should be, we need this professional to advise. Government, they must take advice. The reason we go to university and acquire these qualifications and this know-how is so that you don't have to necessarily work in a government department, but you are a professional. Get the professional, people who know it. Okay, I'll leave that. So I'm really excited about this discipline, Professor Mbanga, and thanks for your foresight together with the board for all of the efforts. And I also, before this current Minister Sulu came, she was a fan of them when she was minister. She was a fan of our program at Fort Hare. She came. We sat through a whole day of planning. Incidentally, she was talking to us about an institute based at Fort Hare. Based at Fort Hare. Whether it would then branch out and have a foothold in other universities, I don't know. But that thing, leave that. It's something for another day. I have 6 questions though. I told you I'm a layperson. I don't know what you do. So I have questions. Hopefully this will get the conference kind of going. And these are very simple questions. The first one, what is the role of the profession and the professional that it produces and the researchers therein in relation to urban decay and urban slums? How do I address that thing? How do we deal with urban decay? And again, I'm saying this because this is something that exercises me all the time. In the middle, and nobody accounts, nobody says anything. Water runs out, nobody says anything. Those kinds of things. What's the profession's role and the discipline, anyway? The second question, what's the role of this discipline in relation to human settlement in rural areas? Whenever we think of human settlements, it's the RDP, what about the rural areas? What about there? Because a lot in the rural areas escapes our attention. We still have mud schools in this province. Mud schools. And I imagine the nature and the form of the school is very important to human settlement. It's very important. So it's not something that's outside. It's something that's there. Mud schools. In this day and age, 2021. I'm listening to the electioneering that's happening. Nobody mentions those things because they're hidden away. Nobody sees them. We tend to release them because the next week, quiet. The third thing is, what is your approach of the discipline towards inter and transdisciplinarity? I put it on the table earlier, but exactly what? Who do you work with? Because the problem with any discipline, it doesn't matter which one, when it emerges, when it starts off, everything looks noble and all of that. But after a while, disciplines start looking inward and become insular and start working within silos. How are you going to avoid this new discipline becoming that insular and becoming just one silo among many? In other words, you even said many. Someone is doing medicine different, someone is doing education, someone is doing something else. How are you going to use the perfect position and location you have to reach out and branch out and show us something that we've not been doing as other disciplines and universities? Fourth one, what exactly is the relationship between the institute and universities? And I don't have the answer to this question. What's the relationship? What's the relationship? Could it be that there's room for you to leverage resources in universities? We spoke earlier. I will not. I'm not going to reveal secrets. Yeah, but I do believe that there are resource constraints, and sometimes those resource constraints can be mitigated by leveraging resources in the universities. And I'm not inviting requests to get next week. The fifth one, I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I just thought this is my 10 minutes to fame. Is it, fifth question, is it sustainable? A new discipline? Is it sustainable to have freestanding departments of human settlement at universities? Freestanding, standalone. And this is a discussion I was having with Mr. Mwongwe walking here. Or should they be, and should they remain part of other pre-existing departments, social sciences or whatever, built environment and so on? Is it sustainable? That's the question. Are you going to be able to have sufficient students that sustain these programs if you have a standalone department? And finally, number 6, these graduates that will be churning out, Professor Bauer, I don't know how many years, when was your first graduation of students?
2018.
2018, just like us. And this is the question, and I don't know the answer myself. But for any profession and program to be sustainable, it also needs to be able to say, this is where our graduates go. Have you done a tracer study? Have you done a tracker study of your graduates? And I'm asking not just of Nelson Mandela or Fort Hare, I'm asking everyone. Do you know where these people are? Do you know what they do? Have you assessed the impact that they make once they get into the job market? Those are some of the questions. So I thought as a way of just provoking discussions, even when I'm not here, I'll throw those 6 questions up. Now, as I conclude, very briefly, Program Director, you are at the University of Fort Hare, so I may as well just give you a little thing about the University of Fort Hare. And it is a serious university, that's the first thing. It's a very serious university. It is a very serious university. That's why I came here. That's why I came here. I've been to a few universities around the country. I've been to a few. I came here because I believe it's a serious university. Now, our university is now, this year, 105 years old. Established in 1916. And yeah, we will do another 105 years from now. And we're serious about that. We have 3 campuses, the one in East London, which we inherited as a little satellite campus of Rhodes, which has since grown big, actually very big. Here, with up in about 6,500 students. We have a campus in Bayshore, which is about 700 students. And then we have Alice, about 9,000 students. Alice is the main campus, Alice is the 1916 campus. But that also has kind of grown quite a lot over the years. At the moment we have just over 16,000 students across all the disciplines, 6 faculties and so on. And we cover the full spectrum, undergrad and all of postgrad. And we have a human settlement kind of program which is currently incubated in the Department of Sociology, and hence my discussion with Mr. Mongwe here about freestanding or remain incubated there, or remain part of that sociology department. It was a question. So we have a program. We graduated the first group in 2019. We've had at the university, one thing that makes us proud, and I don't want to bore you with this, we've made considerable progress in terms of increasing our research productivity and the training of our postgraduates, especially at the doctoral level. We are, in the province, we probably produce, if not the largest, but the second largest number of doctoral students in the province. And just finally, you know, the university has been through very difficult times. It's been through very difficult times. And we have now deliberately set ourselves on a course, what we call renewal. 2030, in 2020, 2030, this university will be a totally different thing in 2030. And we're doing it, I was going to use a term, but it's a wrong term. We're doing it confidently and boldly. I almost said aggressively. But yes, the time for mischief at Fort Hare is long gone. Anyone who wants to go make mischief making at a university, sorry, go next door, don't come here. The days where a university was in financial trouble and was struggling and so on, it's not going to happen here. And in fact, it's not happening here. If you want to work in a serious university, and this is the kind of the one advert, come and work at Fort Hare. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm not sure. I do know that the minister, the National Minister of Human Settlement, was due to come today. I do know that the MEC will attend the conference at some point, not today necessarily. I do know that other officials will be attending, and so I'm at the risk of doing everything wrong and acknowledging people incorrectly. I'm just going to say all protocols were observed, and Professor Bang. And thanks very much to yourself, to the practitioners, and all the best to the conference participants, and of course our own colleagues, human settlements, institutional advancement, and your team in the Institute. Thank you very much for organizing this conference.
Thank you, Prof. I think I'll pardon all the speakers when it comes to acknowledging the dignitaries. Even those that are in the house, I didn't acknowledge them. Those that I know that are going to be connected online, I didn't acknowledge them as a chairperson. But on behalf of all the speakers, I would say protocol has been observed to all the speakers that will be, all the dignitaries. Secondly, I think Prof. Mama, the Prof is sitting next to another Prof. Now I'm saying Prof, I must differentiate which one that I'm speaking to now. Professor Buhlungu has done a very important input for us this morning, not only for the student body, but also for the mother body, which I think is going to give more time to think and develop some strategic approach. The points that he has raised are very challenging for the country. The issue of planning and the issue of urbanization, it's a challenge for us. And also the issue of rural. Prof, I remember in one municipality in our town, a colleague of mine then introduced the issue of, it was still called housing, not human settlement. He called it the inhabitants of that rural area, and to give them news. From her side, it was good news. But it turned out that it's not a good news to the people that she was bringing. This thing of thinking that what I think is correct for Kuhle, what the Kuhle wants, it's what I think. But instead of asking Kuhle and say, what is it that you want? So that Kuhle could say, I'm making an example with Kuhle, but it's about the community participation in development. Government must not think what government. It's good to say that you want to deliver houses, but how part of it the community must say it. Zoleka Kapa, you all know that she's now a deputy minister somewhere in this department. She calls the community to tell them that she's got funding to develop houses for them. The municipality has already appointed contractors. So there's going to be starting of the development. And then one person stand up after she has said, Mphathiswa ngicela ukuthetha nawe. Ubani uza kwakha lendlu? Athi yena, I know there's a contractor that has been appointed to do. Said, mina ngumtata kulaa ndlu. I will not allow another man izokwakha indlu yami. Because dignity yam apha endlini izophela. Because umfazi wami uzokwazi balendlu yakho ngubani, not him. So it's best that you give us the material, you give us advisors for us how to do it, to build the houses. But in the Kula Pekai, the second pants, nobody came to Bazondakela in. But now all of a sudden, Utati Dignity as the man of this house. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the room said, no contractor will come and build houses here. Give us the material to build our houses. And for that material to build those houses, if you attach a team of professionals to that community, to that rural community, the outcome will be what the minister or the deputy minister or the mayor of the city wants to build the houses. But the how part is very important to ensure that we allow the community to voice out the way the development is going to take place. In short, Prof, thank you so much for your input. Your 6 questions Some may be answered during this conference. Some will be answered later on, because I've seen some, they've got implications beyond the conference. And therefore, some could be answered beyond the conference, and in future, they will be answered. And I've noted one, you will play a very important part to answer one of the questions. As a University of Fort Hare, you will play a very important part. As part of the program, the other challenge we have, I just got a message that at 3 o'clock, there's going to be load shedding here. So it's very important that our program, especially for those that are connected, they are able to speak during this time that we are still connected. So I'm going to try, I just gave the prof that latitude to be alone. For the speakers that are going to follow, I'm going to call them twice, two of them at the same time, so that I reduce the times for me to come and interact with the participants and to save more time. I'm going to, I just introduced you, I gave my name, I didn't say where I come from, because I thought there's somebody else who's dedicated to introduce the board of the institute. I'm going to call on Prof. Mbanga. He's going he will be doing the introduction of the institute board. And then after that, he will be followed by Tando, who is the chairperson of the student chapter. I will then come back to introduce another 2 speakers so that we could gain more time. Prof, can I call you on the platform? Thank you so much, Prof, on your input.
Thank you very much, Dr. McParsley. If you could allow me to disengage a little bit. Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues and friends, to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare, who offered us an exciting opening address this morning in the occasion of an inaugural African Regional Student Conference in the discipline of housing and human settlements in South Africa. Program Director have greeted you. Speakers in the program, both the chairs of the wings and also the board of directors of the institute who are part of this conference. Our executive management of the University of Fort Hare, in particular the Faculty of Sociology, which is a co-host of this important conference, the National Department of Human Settlements, which is also lined up to speak in the process of this conference, these 3 days, who has also provided an in-kind support for the success of this conference. I may at the same time take liberty also to acknowledge the South African National Conference Bureau, which has supported this conference also with resources. The National Institute of Humanities and Social Sciences, which has also provided support to the conference for it to be successful. Also, as we call it, the students of the discipline of housing and human settlements in South Africa, who are here, and some of them are connecting virtually. The graduates, Professor Shung was speaking about the graduates of this program in the participating universities in South Africa, led by the host university here, University of Fort Hare, and Nelson Mandela University, University of South Africa, which is offering undergraduate studies in human settlements. University of KwaZulu-Natal has been historically offering housing studies at undergraduate level, but you are aware that those would articulate to masters in other areas, including urban and regional planning. University of Free State does offer an honors in spatial planning, but with specialization in human settlements. There are other master's programs, also urban studies, with specialization in human settlements offered by University of the Witwatersrand. I may say also back home, in the National University, we will be offering a master's in human settlements from 2022 by research, which is coming up as an additional postgraduate program in the field. I'm greeting the students and the graduates who are here. Some of them, we call them young professionals. Those are those who have managed to secure some form of employment or engagement in the labor market upon graduation. So we call them young professionals. I may greet also, importantly, our international guests, and we'll be speaking in the conference from both South Africa in the human settlement fraternity, in particular the social housing sector. Also in Africa, in the continent, we will be graced by the inputs from the United Nations Habitat Regional Office for Africa in Nairobi. Will be coming in during the day. I may greet them also. We have got a cooperation which is emerging and is proving to be an interesting space we're getting into with the United States of America. I think at one point I saw some photos going around with the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, greeting the president of the US, Joe Biden, in some conference. But thereafter, we saw our engagement with our counterparts in that space towards a cooperation. We've got some of them who are lined up to speak or deliver a message of support also in the course of this conference. I'm greeting them. And in that cooperation or collaboration, which is emerging, we are having students from different universities in the US who are also connecting right now virtually and are participating in this conference as part of that cross-Atlantic cooperation between this work led by this institute and the universities which are involved in this work. I was just doing a greeting, and also any other academics in the field, the teachers of housing human settlements, who are also part of this space that we are in this morning. You are also greeted, being an important part, the NGO sector in the space of land and housing, who are also part of this important work and are also connecting in this conference. You are all greeted this morning. Mine is very brief, and I will really do a favor to the conference by really saving on important time for important inputs to be made. Is basically to introduce the Institute for Human Settlement Practitioner. What is that? Who is that? Basically, mine is just to do that this morning. First, to start by introducing myself, as introduced already, I'm Stable Ambanga, named after a trainee, Usula Mandela, originally coming from Inside Municipality in Ward 8, where I grew up, and I headed cattle and sheep of my father. I am currently based in the National University in Gqeberha. Of course, we had an interesting discussion this morning. I won't go into that. I will save that for another space and time. I'm there based in the National University and in the School of Environment and Civil Engineering, in the Faculty of Engineering, Environment and Technology. I am also attached to a chair for human settlements in that university within the Department of Buildings and Human Settlements. Prof. Mutlung was speaking about the issue about how do we move forward with the discipline within the structure of the universities and what approach we need to look at. I am based there, but this morning I'm speaking as a member of the board of the Institute of Human Settlement Practitioners in South Africa, in which I have also been requested to hold the chair for now. I may mention this point, Tando, I'm from Fort Pindokushe. I am sitting in this chair just for now. Otherwise, I'm not planning to sit in this chair. I am planning for one of you to take over the chairpersonship of the Institute of Human Settlements in South Africa. Very briefly about the Institute, perhaps the next slide. We'll be talking about why the Institute, what is its mandate. We are a not-for-profit organization, a voluntary association, a professional association, not-for-profit. Very briefly, which is at a young age and stage of development, we say that it was legally registered in 2016 as an entity. It is independent, not in government, not in a university, not in an NGO, not in any other. It is an independent entity, organization, not for profit. We're not here to make money about IHSA. We want to do business, go where business is done, in other sectors of the economy, but not in IHSA, not for profit. It is here to fulfill an important role in the professionalization of the human resource sector in South Africa. It is meant to be a home and a voice of those who are studying, have studied in this field. It is meant to be a home and a voice for those who are teaching in this field as well. It is meant to be a home and a voice also for those who are practicing already in this field, who might not have pursued studies previously in the field, but might have acquired experience and therefore which might be useful for providing mentorship services to the students and graduates of this program. It is at home. We are filling a particular gap in the space of professionalization in South Africa, and this is this gap. I didn't mention also that we are having an ongoing conversation with the principal and management of the National School of Government, which released a national framework for professionalization of the public service in December 2020, when people were heading for vacation, and when we are engaged in that framework as an institute as well. And we've had some initial conversations with the School of Government around possible cooperation in this area. It is this home. We advocate the professional management of housing and human service development. Professor Buhlungu was speaking, he makes this point that he is not very close to the discipline. But I can tell you, after he landed, you might wonder if there is, of course we can't say the professor in the vice chancellor can talk the truth. It is a big truth. It indicates the importance of this discipline because he was truly navigating the issues that this institute is contending with and which talk to its primary purpose of existence. We are equally concerned about the management of housing and human settlement development. So this institute exists for that. But importantly also, we are also concerned about issues relating to professional ethics, ethical conduct within the profession and the discipline. It's a fairly new institute, as we just mentioned, and it is paving the way for the establishment of the Professional Council for Human Settlement in South Africa. None exists. This institute is beginning to prepare the sector or the field towards a fully fledged professional body. We have engaged in discussions already with South African Qualification Authority as one route called non-statutory. We have participated in their workshop as a board towards professionalizing a recognition of this institute as a professional body. But on the other hand, we have pulled closer the National Department's policy unit and have had a series of engagement with them, and the head of legal services in the National Department, the one who prepares and tables before a minister drafted bills which will go to Parliament, and we've got an understanding that the current process of reviewing the Housing Act to evolve the human legislation shall in it include a clause or a section for the establishment of a professional council in South Africa. And as an institute, we are already making a position paper or a policy foundation for inclusion in the draft bill to be released before that to be catered for in the final legislation that shall go into Parliament. So we are taking a multi-pronged approach. Whichever comes first between the SACA route, which is non-statutory, will take that. It may then be consolidated by the existence of a legislation for this council in South Africa. We are determined and will move with that. Then the next issue is about really strategic objectives of this institute. We've spoken to that. I will definitely be moving as to why professionalize the sector, the human service sector. I don't know that in the course of this conference, truly, there will be papers made, viewpoints made, scholarly inputs which navigate this area of what it is to be professional and what it means to be professional and professionalizing and professionalization in the human settlement sector. I will engage that discussion later on. But it is important to note that this institute is for quality delivery of public services. I can mention that in the next slide, where we talk about the fraternity of issues or maladies that this institute is contending with in defining its existence or positioning itself in the sector. One issue as to why we exist as this institute is not only for ourselves as a professional association. It is for us, of course, to advocate and protect our interests as students, as academics, as practitioners, but at the same time, it is for the public good, the public interest. We are concerned, and we should be, as professionals in this field, be concerned about issues of quality of human settlements and housing development. I think Prof. Bushongo went to learn about the issues of quality. And the issue again now, as this institute, I think that issue very strongly in our focus, because we are in the space of human settlements and housing development. Amidst other professions, traditional professions that have been there, I was asking one of my master's students one time, she is, or she was, a quality coordinator for projects in a particular metro. And okay, that means she's practicing. She's a built environment professional, registered, good, and therefore she's in the right space. Then she's doing a master's research around the quality of low-income housing, which was quite interesting. So we had interesting discussions throughout a study. Actually, you are the one who should ensure that there's a quality on site, and you know the regulations, you know the requirements, you understand everything. Where does this start to be wrong? I think it's a space that we're engaging in the presence of the learned professionals who have gone through the school education in their field, who then engage the actual development of how human settlements. When does it start? Where does it start when you must unlearn what we have acquired from your years of training at university? At the point of practice on site, what happens at that point? I hope that maybe she will present during the course of this conference if possible. So quality is one of the areas we talk about professional management of human settlements. Lack of administrative capacity. I was listening to one of the board members of the African Capacity Building Foundation in Nairobi talking about the issue between the problem with not realizing development outcomes sits between strategy and outcomes. He talks about implementation, but then goes on speedily to talk about what about implementation capacity. We want to, that's another area I think we're putting forward. In the presence of the graduates of this program, we're still faced with capacity issues. We need to engage in that as a theme of this conference. We need to understand it a little bit closer as to what are the issues with capacity from different angles. What are the real issues? And what opportunities therefore exist for the students and graduates of this program? Where do they fit in this capacity conundrum? I think the graduates and students of this program across the universities in South Africa. We need to understand very closely what is it with capacity. The other area we are looking at very closely, the issue of ability to coordinate human settlements for integrated outcomes. Prof. Bushong was speaking at length about that out and go. I think Prof. Bushong was talking directly into the purpose of existence of this institute. I think truly it was the real and honor to have him speaking first in this conference. That is an area that is also our concern. I was speaking to SETPLAN's conference in one time. I do say things that happened. Invited by the CEO of SETPLAN, and I think about a year or so ago, 10 planning profession. So engaging the town planners in their conference. One thing I needed to understand was how it has become that post-1994 in South Africa, we delivered the type of settlements that as professionals were not happy about. How, I was asking planners now, what happens in your workstation? What goes in that space that we understand that legislation that empowered the previous government to create the type of settlements that dislocated people in this country has been repealed. And a new legislation has been put into place that seeks to address the disparities that have been created by apartheid legislation in the urban and rural spaces, which is a progress legislation. My point was, what then guides you in delivering through spatial planning the type of settlements that dislocate people today, that entrance spatial patterns in South Africa, with Port Elizabeth being heralded as one of the cities in South Africa that is an expression of unequal residential space. What informs you? Because I was saying that I may give a benefit of doubt to urban planners of the time of apartheid. They were clinically implementing legislation as professionals, very loyal to the government of the time. What has become of us as professionals of today, that we continue along the same line to implement the type of settlements that we see and worried and concerned about in the presence of a new legislation that seeks to change the spatial layout in South Africa. That's an issue. We have to check that. We have to follow that. Thank you very much. And we have to follow that as an important issue. This is the space for the graduates from the University of Fort Hare. The siloism, where people seek to do what they believe in. Blame apportioning between professionals and politicians. How does it become of a professional to implement a directive that is against existing policy and regulation? What recourse do we have as a professional? What are professional councils saying about those who implement rules that are against existing legislation as professionals? What becomes the role of a professional council in that instance? In the same way, the Council for Medical Professionals would do when a medical practitioner does something wrong in the theatre. What becomes the role of professional council might be yet another question we need to take home as this institute. Lastly, the issue of the professional code of conduct, and in particular as it pertains to the issues of fraud and corruption. We exist for re-socialization of the practitioners in the field as this institute. We are determined to take up that task into the future. We will not allow a situation where students and graduates of this program are socialized differently in what seems to be survival or coping mechanisms in the field. That is either you, what is it said, if you can't beat them, you must join them. We will not allow as an institute that type of socialization. That's a conversation we're engaging with the principal of the National School of Government, because our graduates are under pressure to do things they shouldn't, because they get in a system that says it's either you do it or you perish. So we need to take that issue closely through different programs. We say it is a bit late, it's a de facto intervention when the Special Investigation Unit comes in, the Hawks, to investigate and find fault. It's already late. Corrupt activities have been implemented successfully, people have eaten money by that time. It's late. We wanted to come in earlier as an institute to bring a new course that would understand the importance of moral and ethical behavior. Schulman talks about 3 focuses of a professional. He says to be a professional, you need to have cognitive abilities, your cognitive apprenticeship. You need to think like a professional. So then yields another element of a practical apprenticeship, that to be a professional, you need to act as a professional. The last one, he says, that your moral apprenticeship is equally important. That in acting and thinking, you must do that in a more responsible and ethical manner. So we are here as an institute to lead that agenda into the future. Let me conclude, therefore, by introducing the board. Having spoken to the membership of the on board with the successes, there are slides that talk to the board. The board of this institute is constituted of a team, an interesting team with diverse professional and backgrounds and engagement and experiences. As you might see it with Dr. Mapazi, who we know that she served in a number of leadership positions within local government, was a former executive mayor as well of Mandela Bay Metropole. At some point, has served in the Commission on Gender Equality in South Africa, and we know that she also advises also at the national government level. We do have also, interestingly, Mr. Themba Mthethwa, who is an astute businessman who has worked in the field of built environment and also is a past president of the Institute of Housing in South Africa. There was an attempt made, but we do have what we call in the Institute a grey file that indicates the steps we took as a country around that where we are. I think he is part of this team. We do have Mr. Laurent Shamale, who's the current Chief Executive Officer of Housing Authority in East London, which is a social housing institution. I may mention that that institution has also provided support to the work of this institute since 2016, with Mr. Ramashamale being part of that. Unfortunately, she could not be here with Mr. Themba Mthethwa. We do have also Mr. Brandon Boyce, who previously worked for the National Department of Human Settlements, is a current lecturer at the University of Fort Hare, and is also in the board of this institute. We have also Ms. Kushakonge Watuntuli, a graduate in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, also pursuing master's degree in housing in that university, a former president of SRC in the University of KwaZulu-Natal. She is young. We have got intergenerational type of leadership for this institute. That was important to us. Ms. Pokazi Kwakweni also previously worked for Human Settlements in Pretoria, but currently is with an NGO in Cape Town. She is also serving in the board of this institute. Kandrun Mthethwa, current administrator of the institute, who is also the president and chairperson of the student chapter of this institute, is also serving in the board. What we have in the institute, as I conclude, are also wings. We've got wings, we call them wings, like we fly, so because we're flying, we're just doing a takeoff right now. And the wings are for our chapters within the institute. We've got a practitioners forum, currently led by Mr. Stedon Ngobo, who is the chief director in the Gauteng Department of Human Settlements. I think he was able to join us in person also today, and I think he has rich kind of experience, having worked in the field for so many years. I think it's important for the board. Mr. Thomas Stewart from the University of Free State, the chairperson of the Academics Forum, I think he sits in the forum with heads of departments and the program conveners of this program across the participating universities in South Africa. Mr. Robert Mongwe sits in that. Ms. Emma Yesu Quarantine from Mandela University, they sit in that forum. Professor Mari Sumeya and Professor Lamu Shipungu, they sit in that forum of academics side within the institute. We do have also what we call a young professionals forum. This is led by Mr. Tabla of Yewa, a graduate of Human Settlements in Mandela University, but also pursuing master's degree in the University of Witwatersrand. Rofuma currently is with the Infrastructure South Africa in the Office of the Presidency, where he is working. He, as a graduate, we said we need a separate one from the older group. We need to separate them, because we talk about the resocialization. We need them to sit aside for now a bit, and maybe in the future we'll change things. So he leads that. That is constituted by graduates. I'm Vieira from University of Fort Hare, who's working for Home Affairs as an immigration officer is also sitting in that forum of young professionals. So we then have the student chapter that has led us to be where we are today, with Tando Mteto as its chairperson of the National Executive Committee. Colleagues and friends and everybody else, we introduce the Institute of Muslim Practitioners as a young organization that has deemed fit to come in the space of human settlements and make a contribution which we believe will also have a bearing or an impact on the realization of the SDGs, the new urban agenda, the National Development Plan for South Africa, Vision 2030. I think if we go alone, we won't go any far. But if we go with you, we are likely to achieve a greater mile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the program director. I will stick to the 10 minutes. To the program director, our vice chancellor from the University of Fort Hare, Prof. Sakele Buhlungu, the deputy vice chancellors, to the dean of students, to the board of directors of the Institute of Human Settlements Practitioners, to the HOD or head of the departments in certain universities, or program conveners, to human settlements practitioners who are with us here today, and those who are watching us online, to the academics who teaches us in various universities, to the graduates of human settlements, myself being one of them, of human settlements and housing, to my fellow colleagues, the students of human settlements and housing across the 5 universities that are undertaking the qualification, to everyone who is here. I would love to greet you all in this beautiful morning. It is such a great honor to be standing in front of you today. I will make sure I become very short. As you can see that I am also short, but I will start by my introductions. My name is Tando Mteto, a graduate of housing of human settlements from Nelson Mandela University, who was born and bred from King Williamstown in a small village called Kwakonwata. I'm currently pursuing my master's degree in construction management, specializing in solid waste management and local economic development or economic development. I'm carrying many caps within the institute, but I'm the current president of the National Students Chapter, which is a membership wing, as Prof has explained, of the institute. A very active membership wing of the institute. I'm also the administrator of the institute, being under the leadership of the board of directors led by Professor Sijabula Mbanga. It is such a great honor to be a last born in that team because I'm growing very well. I will give brief the introduction of this students chapter that has brought us here today. The students chapter is the voice or the home of the students who are doing housing and human settlements, which is across different universities, namely Nelson Mandela University, the University of Fort Hare, the University of the Free State, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, UNISA, University of South Africa, and VETS in the post-grad studies that are undertaken. So this student chapter encompasses of all these universities, bringing them in this one roof so that their voice may be heard within the sector, because we know that many people in the sector who their voice are known are old people who are professionals who have been within the sector, but there is a lack of the student voice or the young or youth voice within the sector. So this student chapter is bringing that voice within the human settlement sector. This student chapter was established and launched in 2019 between the Nelson Mandela University or the University of Nelson Mandela and the University of Fort Hare students, whereby we needed to drive down to the University of Fort Hare to say that we want to form this association. The frustrations that have led us to establish this student voice are issues that we faced and we see that are faced by the graduates of this qualification. The first one being the issue of not having a professional home or sense of belonging within the sector, because we know other professions are belonging in certain councils and certain institutes, but the housing and human settlement students do not belong anywhere. The second issue is that even the employment market does not recognize us as professionals. They do not understand what are our key competencies. They just hear that there is the qualification in human settlements. You can go into a municipality anywhere in the country to the HOD of human settlements and ask them, do you know about the qualification of human settlements? They will tell you that I've heard about it, but I do not really understand what is this qualification about. So those were the frustrations when we knocked on the doors. There are no doors that are opening for us. And then the third issue is that even during our period of study, we do not receive enough exposure, we do not receive enough support, even from our own departments. I would love to appreciate our departments who have contributed, the National Department, the Eastern Cape Department, but I think in other provinces, they still trying to figure what is this qualification. So those were the frustrations when we knocked on the doors, we are not known, and even the issue of the funding. The issue of funding these qualifications across the universities. So we came about to form the association, which was later adopted by the institute to be under the institute, which is driving the professionalization agenda. So other universities have joined the association. We started between the two universities, NMMU and the University of Fort Hare. We would love to thank Mr. Mongwe and Professor Sijekula Mbanga for supporting us in this long journey that has brought us here. I want to make an emphasis today that human settlements or housing is a profession. It is a profession that is mainly for equipping our students to be professional managers within the human settlement sector who understands the human settlement value chain, starting from planning, organizing, implementation, monitoring and evaluation in all spheres of government, but not only in government, in the private sector and in the NGO sector. There are professionals that are trained to have capacity to accelerate the service delivery, which is the main thing that we are talking about, that there is a shortage or lack of service delivery in our communities, taking into consideration the social aspects, the economic aspects, and the environmental sustainability within the space of communities, to empower, to capacitate, and develop all the communities, starting from the rural, urban, and cities. We are here today in this conference of the human settlements and housing students. This conference has been something that was planned a long time ago. It seeks to realize the objectives of this student chapter, why it was formed. It seeks to realize the objectives of the institute, to expose, to continuously empower the students in terms of professional development, to give the students networking opportunities, and we are grateful that the University of Fort Hare is hosting this conference. I will be very brief, my program director. The conference, therefore, the conference theme about strengthening the capacity wide during this period of pandemic and beyond. It was a well-thought theme that seeks to speak to the issues that our students are facing, because we are the future. When the current professionals within the space are old, we are to take over. So it seeks to address the issues, but not only to address the issues, but to contribute or emphasize on the contribution that these students are to make within the space of human settlements, so that they are recognized as professionals that are capable, that will uphold higher ethics and standards, that will not put joy to the issues of corruption and maladministration, but to combat those issues that our sector is facing. Yes, this conference I wish, or these students wish this conference to address are the issues that I've mentioned before, the issues of entrepreneurship within the human settlement space, because we are not trained to be employed only, but we are trained to also create employment within the sector. The issue of SMME, so when there is entrepreneurship, there is establishment of small, medium enterprises. The issue of exposure during the period of study, like any other professionals would take in service training, we don't have it here in this profession at the moment. So those are the key issues. And the issue of funding, these students are in need of funding, Prof. Some of them are planning to drop out, some of them have dropped out because of the issue of funding. So those are the issues that I want, or these students want this conference to address, to realize the aim or the theme of this conference. My wish is to just appreciate the Institute for allowing us to be very active and to grow. Thank you.
I know Prof, together with Tando, from the chair, I've been pressurizing you about time. I said we have lost an hour. We need to catch up with that hour. We've got a challenge of load shedding. So we must try and ensure that we are within the time. In our midst, we have Mr. Lita Jolobe, who represent the Office of the Minister. You are welcome. When time comes, then you will be called to the podium for your input. I've got two other speakers that are going to follow now, as I requested. I'm only giving each and everyone 10 minutes. I'll request that as I'm sitting there, your second eye must come there. I've got a paper there that tells you how many minutes left. And when it says not, please leave the podium so that we can allow the next speaker to speak. The next speaker for us is the chairperson of the University of Fort Hare Student Society, Mr. N. Msongero, who will be followed by the chairperson of the Young Professionals Forum, Mr. Chiro Fula, and then after that I'll come back again on the platform. Can we follow that procedure? I'm not going to call you, you just follow each other. Thank you so much.
I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ. My name is Nangam Somsagelwa, and I'm a student from UFH, the University of Fort Hare, studying Bachelor of Social Sciences in Human Settlement. My name is too short. I'm here to welcome each and everyone who just came on behalf of UFH students. We really appreciate each and everyone's contribution, especially those who managed to come here in this conference and make this conference a successful event. It is a great pleasure to have you around, as we are the University of Students of Fort Hare. We are looking forward in this conference, and we want to say feel free and enjoy the moment. And UFH is a home away from your home. Thank you.
Before protocol of health meeting to everyone, and then I must appreciate and afford and I say welcome everyone to this important conference. For those who do not know me, my name is Rupuata Ura, and then for those who know me, my name is still Rupuata Ura. So, just because I've graduated. Yeah, so currently I'm the chairperson of the Young Professional Forum wing, and then which I must say that from the welcoming address by Prof. Mutlu, there was one question which was written. I was really, what can I say, I wanted him to work on that question because he was taking my speech. Because I would have left with nothing to say, because there was that one question, where are these graduates and what are they doing? What is the impact which they are making in the sector? So actually that question needs to be answered by this Young Professional Forum. What we seek to do is to collate that database to find out what are our graduates, what are they doing at the current, what can we. And we take that information to communicate with the relevant universities to see what can be changed, what can be tweaked to make sure that our graduates are understood within the sector and they are making the impact which they are intended to make within the human settlement sector. So that's the essence of this youth forum. So another one which we seek to do, and then we're already starting to see the fruit. I must say that we remain eternally grateful to the National Department of Human Settlements, because a few days ago they've released the internships for opportunities for young graduates. And then with that, why we say we remain eternally grateful is that now we no longer see posts being advertised within this sector which states that any relevant degrees. Now it's specific, it says Bachelor of Social Sciences in Human Settlement or Bachelor of Human Settlement Development. So with that progress, I must say that we're making progress, because it has been since 2019 this will be trying to address these matters. So with my colleagues who are students, let us clap their hands for the Department of Human Settlement. Thanks very much, and we remain eternally grateful from Mr. McLean, the National Department, and everyone who really assisted to bring this into action, because it has always been our struggle as starting as a student. Now we've graduated into a young professional forum. But I will not bring it back to the theme of when we talk about strengthening of the human settlement sector-wide capacity development efforts during pandemic and beyond, opportunities for young professional forum. Colleagues, I must say that the future of housing in South Africa depends on qualified human settlement professionals who understand the space. So the COVID-19, what has done, it has shown us that many people have lost jobs. Our economy will take time to recover. So essence, what that means is that people will still need to go into urban areas to find affordable accommodation. And how will that come about? So, for example, one of the programs which seeks to address that is what we call social housing program, which builds affordable rentals in the inner cities. But that program, it needs people who are qualified, who understand the economic, the social, the politics, to be able to deliver the scale at which the unit needs to be delivered within the urban areas or within the restructuring zones. So with that being said, I'm very excited by this conference, which is for the students, by the students. So I'm internally excited to be part of this conference. So program director and the students, the academia, the professionals, and the representatives from the National Department of Human Settlement and all the entities affiliated to Human Settlement. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. The pandemic has brought a negative, has made some negative impacts in our life. It has also opened up some opportunities. Who has ever thought of having a conference hosted in the hybrid form that we are having today? We never had something like this. Many people are working from home, making important decisions online. Before we break for tea, I'm going to take 3 messages of support. The first one that is going to follow immediately is Mrs. Elizabeth Glenn Scott, who will be followed by the chairperson of the academic forum, Mr. Stewart, and the last before we break for tea will be Mr. Noble. And then after that we'll break for tea. I'll request that they follow each other as I call them. I'm not going to come to the podium to call them again. If they are here with one body, they will just step up to the podium. If they are not here, will I be assisted so that they can be connected with immediate effect? Mrs. Scott? Yeah.
She's married. She's married.
Good day, everyone. I want to thank you very much for inviting me to be here today. I bring you greetings, congratulations, and a message of support for the United States-Africa Collaborative, an international assembly of professionals, academics, government officials, nonprofit organizations, and students who are principally from the U.S. and South Africa, who are dedicated to the enhancement and professionalization of the housing and human settlement sector in Africa and in the U.S. My name is Elizabeth Glenn. Folks call me Liz, Mom Liz, and I'm so happy to be here. We wish to offer our congratulations to the student chapter of the Institute of Human Settlement Practitioners and the local organizing committee on the successful launch of the African Regional Student Conference on Housing and Human Settlements. I want to personally congratulate Professors Mbenga and Brenda Boyce for their extraordinary leadership, as well as Tago Montito and all the other leaders for their role in shaping, organizing, and implementing this great program. You have surely laid a strong foundation to build upon, and you created a platform for information exchange and leadership development. I want you to know how honored I am to be here. I am humbled to have been asked to speak to you today. But mostly I'm excited for all the participants of the conference as you prepare to engage with your peers, academics, and professionals on compelling topics such as capacity building and professionalization, indigenous knowledge and human settlements, and innovation and technology in human settlements development. The conference theme speaks powerfully to the moment, strengthening human settlement sector-wide capacity during the pandemic and beyond, opportunities for young professionals. You are the future of our industry, and it is important that you are prepared for the challenges that you will surely face and that you are facing now. I want to tell you, be not discouraged. Keep your heads up and fight this good fight. You see, the U.S. Collaborative believes that academics, housing professionals, and students collectively and integrally have the means and wherewithal to harness the energy, the intellectual capital, and the creativity within the housing and human settlement sectors. Collectively, we can better prepare young professionals for the challenges and opportunities that the sector embodies by combining theory with the practical, enhancing the housing and human settlement delivery systems so that we embrace a 21st century philosophy to build a more equitable and sustainable future. We envision a world that embraces the idealism, passion, and potential of young leaders who desire and wish to prepare for professional careers in the housing and human settlement space. It is an industry that is surely coming of age. Our commitment to the sector rests on the shoulders of giants, enormously talented professionals who seek to enhance diversity curriculums, establish internships and mentoring opportunities, and developing policy perspectives that embrace sustainability and resilience. These efforts have already launched the Global Platform, an incredible effort led by the Nelson Mandela University here in the Eastern Cape, and the University of Maryland, College Park in the United States. We hope to explore study abroad programs, international internships, and professional exchanges that will contribute to the professional experience, but also provide practical experience that will help you build your resume, your CV, as well as your overall learning experience. Next year, we will launch the Pan-African Symposium on the African City, hosted by the University of KwaZulu-Natal in the city of Durban in June of 22. The symposium will examine themes related to the future and sustainability of the African future. Many topics will be explored, including such topics as housing finance, land and housing development, climate change in the city, urban spatial policies, women architects molding safer and inclusive modern cities, informality, housing development in the city, and what I'm particularly excited about is the diasporic experiences of housing exclusion and spatial inequality. Narratives, agency, resilience. This is just a sampling of the topics to be presented, and I am excited about what we might produce from this event. Hopefully it will be just the first of several over the next several years. Globally, we believe the African diaspora has much to share and much to learn from each other. The collaborative is an opportunity for the diaspora collectively to work together to learn from its success, its mistakes, challenges, its failures, and indeed our triumphs from our shared history of oppression. For example, partnering with America's historically Black colleges and universities is one way that we can build bridges of learning within the diaspora. We hope that you will join us for this important event that will take place in Durban next year. Before I close, and I know that you're behind, so I want to keep this quick, I should share with you that I did not originally choose housing as a profession. I had other plans in my life, much more glamorous plans. However, I was led and called to the Ministry of Housing and Community Development because I was struck by the politicization and racialization of housing in America. I personally feel the policies that left Black communities suffering and without resources. Disinvestment, segregation, marginalization, inequity, voter suppression, and the criminalization of simply being Black highlight the severe injustices that Black people have endured in my country. Housing, and where it is located, can be predictive of mortality and longevity, especially if it is isolated for resources such as jobs, education, healthcare, recreation. It is easy to predict whether children born in certain communities will be successful in life or not, have poor health outcomes or not, or worse, be subject to early death or incarceration. When we closely examine history and patterns of oppression globally, we can see patterns that emerge, and we must, as global citizens, advocate for a more just and equitable society. Housing is both a strategy and a solution to improving lives, creating wealth, and sustaining families. It's more than shelter. We must look at the economic impact that housing has on our economy and seek to harness that. I will tell you that once I was hooked on housing, once I understood the power that housing has on improving the overall quality of life, the longevity of life, for people, for our communities, our cities and towns, I tell you, I was in it for life. And now even in retirement, after leaving a successful career as a government administrator, overseeing publicly funded housing programs in the U.S., I am now actively engaged in the development of housing policy, as well as developing and maintaining relationships that have a shared vision of a just global society in my volunteer time. Because I believe in the power. I believe in the power of housing. I commend you all for answering the call to the housing and human settlement profession. I know it is not easy, but it is noble and inspired work. It is absolutely crucial work if we are to foster a sustainable and equitable society. We must self-determine our communities. We must ensure and insist on being fully integrated into the resources and the powers that our cities and our communities have. Together we must strive to dismantle and get rid of failed housing policies and develop and implement thoughtful and equitable policies that both engage people in the planning and development process and lift people up to their highest potential. We must reap this harvest capital, this human capital that we are launching here, that we are building here. So lastly, in closing, I would like to offer the U.S.-Africa Collaborative support as a principal partner and mentor. We are interested in learning about your challenges, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, so that we can work together to build our collective capacity to be self-determined and to embrace best practices that focus on equity, inclusion, entrepreneurship, economic development, and the professionalization of the housing and human settlement sector. We hope to encourage the development of opportunities that will prepare you for the housing and human settlements industry of the future. We may not be where we need to be or where we want to be, but we're going to get there. I believe that. In doing so, we wish to give you a voice in shaping the communities of our country. Our collective efforts must be grounded in the lessons of the past and focusing on finding progressive ways to meet the complex housing and human settlement needs and the demands of the 21st century. All over the world, indigenous and oppressed people are aligning themselves together to advocate for more humanistic approaches to community enhancement, sustainability, leadership development, housing and human settlement policies, and cultural competence in the development framework. We can maximize our collective influence and build a robust, creative, and sustainable housing and human settlement profession by leveraging our resources and working together. Imagine how far we can go if we all work together. Folks in the US, folks in Africa, folks in South Africa, we work collectively for our shared goals of elevating the profession and applying that knowledge to developing and maintaining vibrant, sustainable communities. We can indeed change the world into a better place for us and for future generations. On behalf of the US Collaborative, I hope you will join us. Thank you for giving me this time.
Good morning to each and everybody. Thomas Stewart this end, the current acting chair of the Academic Forum. It is my privilege to, on behalf of the Academic Forum, convey a message of support to this conference, and I will briefly, to all of those who are here virtually and in person, thank you for the opportunity. Briefly, the objectives of the Academic Forum is to coordinate the teaching, the research, the policy influence, and the contribution we can make to the professionalization of human settlements as a professional practice. Some of our future activities, without going into detail, involve the structuring of an academic database and to develop continuous professional development programs, to attend to some research programs, and the dissemination of the knowledge that we acquire in journals, publications, and newsletters. Ultimately, to also enter into, as an institute, a memorandum of understanding with the respective universities involved. Having said that, I think from a human settlements perspective, we cannot rest in peace, sleep at night, if there are people in this country without water, without food, and without proper shelter. I think as human settlement practitioners, we are aware that life gets meaning and is rewarding when you're able to contribute in some little way to improving the lives of those next to you and around you that you encounter on a daily basis. In concluding, I want to say that the academic wing is where we hope to provide the home to our academics, and it is also the forum where we hope to coordinate the academic grounding of our young developing discipline and profession as professional human settlement practitioners. And with those few words, I would like to say we trust and we hope, and we can already see that other than many ad hoc conferences and symposia we've had in the past, the Institute is gaining traction that is going to be in all of our interest. Thank you, and may you all have an incredibly fruitful and rewarding conference.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting UN Habitat to this very important conference. My name is Mutinta Munyati. I work in the Regional Office for Africa, and I bring in greetings from both the Director of the Regional Office for Africa and also the Executive Director, Madam Maimuna. We are very happy to be part of this conference. I think the issue of human settlements, as has been highlighted by a number of speakers, is very, very crucial. For me, as a person who is in charge of issues relating to young people in the Regional Office for Africa, I am very happy to see that young people are really being put at the center of human settlements. Some of the issues that have been highlighted already, I can resonate with them, and one of them is the issue of recognition of the profession of human settlement. And also to be able to say that the young professionals probably will be comfortable to hear that it's not only you who are feeling this issue of not being recognized, because even as an agency within the UN family, it's always very difficult to sell the agenda of human settlements, much as it's one of the most important agendas. Because when you talk about human settlements, when you're talking about housing, you're talking about literally all the issues that affect a human being, ranging from housing, basic services, access to water, the environment, you name it. So I just wanted to bring a message of encouragement to all of you as you discuss, and also to be able to say on behalf of UN Habitat, we do offer some opportunities, especially for young professionals. One of them is the possibility of having an internship with the UN Habitat Human Settlements Program for those who are still in their third year and fourth year. And also the issue of connectivity and sharing of innovations and knowledge across the globe. We have what is called the World Urban Forum, which is coming up next year in Holland, in Katowice. And I would like to be able to inform this conference that you have the opportunity to be able to link up with other young professionals from across the globe. And if you are interested to participate, please get in touch with the Department of Human Settlements and we'll be able to facilitate that. The other issue that I wanted to mention is that some of the challenges that young people need to consider as you go on in the conference are issues of beyond COVID. What are the lessons that young people have learned during the pandemic? And one of the issues that I personally have encountered with young people, especially in informal settlement, is the disruption in terms of accessing learning during the pandemic. One would have to address the issues of how people, especially in slums and informal settlements, beyond COVID, can still have the opportunities to be able to learn and also be able to have access to livelihoods. Without wasting a lot of time, I just want to again thank you for inviting UN Habitat to give a message of support, and just to wish all of you a good conference, and also please share with us the outcomes of the conference, because they will feed into the global and Africa agenda in terms of how young people are involved in human settlements in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all the speakers that we just had online. I want also to thank the participants for their discipline. We're supposed to have had a tea earlier than this time, but I'm now allowing you to have tea. We are going to break now for tea, so that when our guest speakers speak, we at least refresh ourselves. We have refreshed ourselves. The time now is 10 to 12. I'll be generous and give you 20 minutes. That 20 minutes includes the sitting down on your chair. I don't expect that by 20 minutes you are moving from the tea room to the room. At that time, in 20 minutes, I'll be standing here giving direction what's going to happen. We stand to, at 10 past, we are commencing. Thank you so much. We can now break for tea. So in future, I must keep the 5 minutes for sitting down aside. We're expecting now to have Ms. Tiffany McNabb from USA Housing Professionals. If you can confirm if she's online. After that, I'm going to take the chairperson of the Practitioners Forum, Mrs. Stelmore. As I said, I'm not coming in because I'm trying to save more time. After him, and when Stel finishes up, we will then be able to introduce who represent the office of the minister. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's still morning. I will be forgiven, Chairperson. I don't have a beautiful voice, and you can blame that to my ancestors. It's not out of my own making. Although my wife says it's the most beautiful voice. So. We would like to appreciate, Chairperson, the opportunity that we find ourselves in today. We really would like to appreciate our young lions for pushing harder and harder. I was with some of them who had graduated in Free State, I think it was 2019, if I'm not mistaken, Tando. And you could see the fire in those young people, the desire to make the difference on the ground. So I'm coming here representing the human settlement professionals as the chairperson of that structure, which is part of the institute. I think my main motto, Chairperson, is that it guides the way I work in human settlement, is that the housing mentality has created human settlement problems with devastating outcomes in all areas of our lives. When we took over, by we I mean the democratic government, we took over a disaster, guided by the white paper that was very clear in terms of what is it that needed to be done. But that was not done. We moved on in a very limited understanding of what human settlement is all about and adopted a housing mentality. And that's why we have the crisis that we're having now. Government and the majority of the sector looks at human settlement as the provision of housing, which is why the Prof was highlighting the things that he was highlighting of housing sprawling all over the place. It is the housing mentality that guides how the human settlement, if it is human settlement, is being rolled out in the country. And it's a serious problem. Then the question is, what then becomes the role of the human settlement practitioners? The current core that is currently find themselves in government departments, national, provincial, in municipalities, in private businesses as planners, and academics. What becomes the role of this human settlement practitioner, especially those like myself who are employed in the government? And part of what Prof indicated earlier on is that it is these young people, when placed properly, will have to advise government. We've tried. I've been in government for 30 years, I can tell you that. But we will never stop trying, because there are a lot of competing issues that exist that face a human settlement practitioner who is employed to conceptualize, design, and roll out a human settlement project or a program. It is tough. You need to compete as a technocrat. You compete with political imperative and agency. Our political authority, their lifespan is 5 years. And each and every one of them, and correctly so, they want to leave that space having delivered something. They would want to be seen having done something. And for some reason, the appetite is that when I come, I want to start something. That is why you don't have progress. In Gauteng, where I come from, the Department of Human Settlement there, which is my employer, in the 5 years has had about 4 or 5 MSCs. And you then probably think you'll be able to deliver. You package something as a technocrat, you sign it up, it gets approved. By the time remember in government, things get approved after 7 months or something. By the time it's approved, that political authority is gone. The new one comes in, you must start afresh, and he has his own thinking. It's a cycle in government. And probably my principals, if they were to hear me now, I might be in trouble, but you know, I have to. I'm the chairperson of the practitioners. I'm not the chief director here. I'll have to deal with that at some other point. Now, the critical issue then becomes the link between the current core of professionals and the young professionals and the graduates here is that once you are placed in that particular space, it is a responsibility of mine and those similar to me to mentor you and guide you and expose you. Now, if I have been doing wrong things for 20 years, what sort of mentorship am I going to give? You will come energetic, hungry, and full of theory, correctly so in terms of how problems could be done. And then I say, uzokathala mtanam. That's the mentality that you find in government, and it's hugely problematic. The few of us who are trying to push back that kind of mentality, it becomes very cold for us. You get isolated, you do, but we will never stop, because at the end of the day, our people must reap the rewards of the freedom that they fought for. And delivery of human settlement, not houses. The Department of Human human settlement, if you go to their annual reports and all that, they will tell you they've delivered so many million houses. But does that translate to human settlements? And the answer is no. Are the mega projects that are being rolled out by our departments right now, are they integrated, sustainable human settlement spaces now? I'm going to do some assessment in terms of that, and I'll show you that they are not. So there's a lot of work that we need to do as you join this table, as you get employed. These are the kinds of problems you are going to face with. Earlier on today, I was expressing my frustration to Prof that the problems that were identified in the white paper in '94 are the problems that the Department of Human Settlement, in their diagnostic report, are the problems that they say they are facing now. But these are the things we mentioned in 1993. Somewhere in Mangaung, somewhere in a particular conference that all of us know very well, and some of us would have participated in that process. But these are the problems that we are still facing here, which means the professionals have not done anything. I'm not simplifying the challenges that we are having, but indeed, we should be doing something. That's why we need to professionalize. That's why there needs to be a lot of work that moves towards that direction, so that we begin to understand what is a human settlement practitioner. What distinguishes you from a town planner and an architect and a project manager? It is because you understand all these fields, including engineering, but you are bringing a human element and a soul to it. You understand that you are not involved in building houses, but you are involved in bringing life to the people. And that's the whole totality of thinking that we need to have as we begin to roll out and push back all the challenges that we are facing in human settlement. So the council process, Prof, as we engage the South African Qualifications Authority, as we begin to engage the department in terms of the legislation and moving towards the establishment of a council, we need to define clearly in the Act what a human settlement practitioner is, so that we can enforce that. So that you don't have a project manager claiming to be a human settlement practitioner. And you don't have an engineer or an architect claiming to be a human settlement practitioner. We need to pull them on board and take them to Nelson Mandela or Fort Hare to go for 1 year on some theoretical program, so that they become human settlement practitioners. A journey that you would have gone, a journey that I would have gone. So these are the issues that are very important. This is the support that we are giving you. We are all horses that are about to exit, and you are coming in, and I am challenging all of those people who are in similar positions as I am, currently employed in government and anywhere else, to provide proper guidance and mentorship to you, so that you can transform this particular sector, because it needs a lot of transformation. You are going to encounter a huge pushback, but I'm telling you now, fight on. Even if you get old like me, but continue to fight, it's important. I think mine pauses there, and I'm happy to have been given an opportunity, Chairperson, and I think this is going to also give an opportunity to teach us on how to begin to improve on the things that we want to do. But before I leave the floor, I would humbly want to introduce the speaker that is coming. In your program, Chairperson, you would have had the minister coming to address this occasion, and the Honorable Minister has delegated Mr. Lita Jolobe, the Chief Director responsible for housing, for affordable housing in the department, to come and address us on her behalf. Whatever he's going to say, we are not going to hold Mr. Jolobe on that. We are going to hold the Honorable Minister on that. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you.
Now I see why your wife loves your voice. It's a very sharp and punchy voice. You cannot fail to listen to it. You will excuse my informality. You are used to speakers who wear jackets. I'm trying to say to you that we are practitioners, human segments are practitioners, and we're supposed to roll our sleeves. And my name, as he has said, is Lita Chorobe, the Chief Director responsible for what we call affordable housing in a branch called Affordable Housing, Rental and Social Housing. Affordable housing, I'm sure you know about it. It might not be affordable without the affordable loans, mortgage loans. I think, Prof, that's one area. We always talk about affordable housing, but we don't say the mortgage is affordable. So you should match the two, affordable housing and an affordable mortgage loan. First, I must apologize for the Minister and the Director General at the same time. This is that period we call the silly season, when they have to run around like beheaded chicken, trying to convince this one and that one that we are the party to deliver. I will leave that to your own imagination. Because the previous speaker actually nailed it, or nailed us to a must, and said we continue with housing instead of human segments. That shows there is a disconnect between theory and practice. Now I guess you guys with the Institute, you'll try and bridge the gap. Hence you say practitioners, you don't say theories. As you know that practice without theory is said to be blind. And theory without practice is empty. So you have to match the two. Now, why am I saying this? Is because we had lofty ideas when we started the human segment chapters. We wanted to transform this sector so that those who are working at this Department of Human Settlements, whether at national level to the local level, would have come out of these universities. So that when immediately you complete your degree, you are placed in a proper institution. Now, the idea of creating the chapters was lofty, as I said, but we still have not mastered the practice. The theoretical aspect of it was good, but we have not mastered the practice. I guess the Institute will have to grapple with those. I know Prof is passionate about it. Oh, by the way, Nozu, Now, before I get into the message, to read the message from the minister, I think Prof. Botando, you have engaged some of my team members around the program which we call SEED. It's a socio-economic empowerment program. It's a program that is aimed at empowering what we call designated groups, which are your women, youth, people with disabilities, and guess what? Unemployed graduates. Suddenly, unemployed graduates are a designated group. Universities keep on producing, but the market doesn't absorb. Now we are trying to create a program that would be anchored or based on material supply and production. Not only material supply, but production. Because we have realized that this space is occupied by a few monopoly entities. Now we want to, Prof, through this institute, to then reskill some of the graduates so that they enter into that space. And we make sure that when they do enter, there's an empowerment fund which has soft loans for them to be able to then produce these materials. You will have noticed, I'm sure, most of you come from rural areas, I think. You will have noticed that we have the people who call my friend, who are in these rural areas, opening up hardware shops. Because they've seen that there's a market. And all of us are sleeping, and they have seen the gap. And they are not producing quality or being regulated. They are not producing quality products. And one of the areas which we need to look into is that exactly. As an institute, how do you get to regulate? And do you allow anybody to just come into the country and open up a hardware shop? Now, I'm not being xenophobic, I'm just being South African. There's a difference. Because we are faced with unemployed graduates, and we need their theoretical understanding to be matched with the practical side of things. So, the team is here. I think Tando, they got in touch with you, say too. You can engage with them, and we see how we take this process forward. Because we will certainly need you on the theoretical side to assist. Thank you. Now, this is a message, thank you, Chair, this is a message from the Minister. You know, when you have to address people like the chairperson, former executive mayor, you say, how do I address her? And when you have to address professors, and we used to be civil service together, and now he's a professor. It shows that even the civil service can produce intellectuals and learning. Now, it's a pity. I will acknowledge who the Vice Chancellor here says he's got some engagement which he needs to attend to. But the message from the Minister Ubai, is a very energetic minister, young, approaching. And that's why I'm not wearing a jacket, because she's very informal. So I'm trying to move away from the old to the new. Never mind that Prof will know I'm close to the door so that you can come in. I'm close to exiting, yes. I've been in this department longer than most people. It's almost 20-something years now. In various capacities. Now, the message reads as thus. Program Director, the MEC was here, we acknowledge MEC Human Settlements in the Eastern Cape, Honorable Nongeba Konsiwe, Director General Mulelo Changa, Senior Management of the Human Settlements Department and the Sector, the Vice Chancellor of Forte, Professor Sakela Mhlungu, Deputy Vice Chancellors, the Dean of Students, Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences, Board of Directors of the Institute, Head of Department and Convener of Human Settlements Program at University of Forte, members of the academic and research bodies, members of boards and councils of human settlements entities, human settlements students and graduates, and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to address this diverse audience comprising of human settlement students, practitioners, and academics from South Africa, African, and the United States of America. This conference is a unique and innovative platform which has already achieved the objective of bringing together our brightest minds to focus on some of our most immediate and pressing concerns. Your chosen conference theme is close to my heart and an area I will be seeking to contribute towards over my tenure in this portfolio. Capacity development is fundamentally an investment in people. It represents the intentional investment in the current and future generations of our country and our continent. Capacity development at its heart is a deeply transformational process impacting the individual, the organizational, the institutional, and the environmental spheres. The fifth administration has been grappling with measures to enhance state capacity, advancing a professionalized civil service, and ultimately ensuring rapid and caring service delivery to local communities. This conference comes at an opportune time when my department is crafting and refining a sector capacity assembly program, which has direct links and synergies with the issues to be discussed at this conference. The Capacity Assembly Initiative is fundamentally a program aimed at professionals, including youth and recent graduates, and providing them with a space to support government's effort to develop communities. The objective is to assemble, nurture, and deploy our professionals and youth who have received academic training in human settlements and allied disciplines. This program is designed to build upon the growing pool of graduates with specialist degrees in human settlements development management, at our partner institutions such as the University of Fort Hare, Nelson Mandela University, UNISA, University of Free State, and UKZN. We are open to working with the Institute for Human Settlement Practitioners, South Africa, and other professional associations in the built environment to design comprehensive graduate development programs to complement our capacity assembly initiative. In short, the department under my leadership will seek to unleashing the potential of our graduates and put them to work in the sector. This is addressed to MEC Konziwa. I hope you will get the message. My wish is to pilot this program in partnership with the Eastern Cape Provincial Department of Human Settlements. This builds on the sterling work that has already been done in the province around graduate placement, provision of internship opportunities, mentorship, and efforts to support the work-integrated learning, that's WIL, component of the Human Settlement Degree Program. My department understands and recognizes that students and young professionals' desire is to contribute towards far-reaching social change in local communities through the provision of sustainable human settlement projects. This can only happen if they find opportunities to contribute within local municipalities, provincial government, sector entities, sector NGOs, social housing organizations, and numerous private sector companies will rely on to actually build houses. The DG often says, Prof, that we can't understand that we have 30-something billion. We command 30-something billion, but we cannot translate that into, say, to the private sector. Here we have 30-something billion. What are you going to offer? We can't even use that not to price fix, but to make sure that material supply, materials are not escalating at the rate they do escalate when we command 30 billion in the sector. We should use that to leverage so that our students can be part of those projects. I think that's what the minister is talking about. My own view is that sector capacity assembly, which is part of the longer-term professionalization project, is not only the responsibility of the state agencies. There is a need to mobilize all human sector partner institutions to implement our collective vision in a concerted and focused manner. I wish to commend the work and the commitment of the partner universities, the national and the international partners initiatives, US-Africa collaboration. I'm particularly pleased about the emergence of the Institute of Human Settlement Practitioners, South Africa. You are fulfilling a valuable role of being the voice of human settlement practitioners in South Africa. It has long been the desire of the National Department to partner with a professional association specific to the administration and management of human settlements. The emergence of the IHSP-SA comes at a time when government has been clarifying its position on the urgent need to professionalize the state. We have been carefully following the work of the National School of Government. The release of the National Professionalization Framework late last year is an affirmation of the work of the National Department of Human Settlement. The NDOHS has been consistent in its longer-term efforts towards professionalization of the human settlement sector. The need for the professionalization of the housing and human settlement sector practitioners in South Africa spans over a long period, initially spearheaded by the National Department of Housing and later named Department of Human Settlements, with other like-minded individuals in the social housing sector, human settlement entities, housing developers, and institutions of higher learning. One of the remarkable milestones which emerged out of the human settlement sector professionalization project over this period was the introduction of under and postgraduate human settlements academic programs in various universities in South Africa, and the establishment of a chairs in human settlements development at the Nelson Mandela University and Mangosuthu University of Technology. The clear objective of this initiative was to create a pool of students and graduates of housing and human settlement studies in various universities in South Africa. This cadre was considered an essential component of the value chain to the creation of the integrated and sustainable human settlements in South Africa to realize the Sustainable Development Goal 11, the aspirations encapsulated in the 2016-2036 New Urban Agenda adopted in Ecuador during 2016. The ideas espoused in the African Union Agenda for African Development, Vision 2063, and the South African Development Plan, Vision 2030, Chapter 8 specifically. In the context of South African, the human settlement sector is in need of a capable workforce to uphold higher standards of ethics, who will be effective and efficient in service delivery, and demonstrate a strong social conscience by putting people first, and that's important. The emergence of the IHSP South Africa provides a long-awaited bottom-up response to the need for sector professionalization. The IHSP South Africa, as a practitioner-led and directed organization, can legitimately drive a sector professionalization agenda in conjunction with all other relevant actors. My department stands ready to partner with IHSP-SA and partner universities to address key capacity challenges as we foster capacity development, assembly, and deployment. Fostering a culture of knowledge exchange and evidence-based decision-making by 1. Supporting research initiatives, 2. Supporting conferences, seminars, field trips, workshops for exposure and growth. Fostering professionalization by funding continuous lifelong learning programs for practitioners. Facilitating the establishment of a professional council to recognize professionals. I trust that these commitments are constructive. The officials of the National Department of Human Settlements, including its entities and provinces, will work to translate these into working partnerships. I am confident that these initiatives will yield success for all involved. Let us work harder to open the doors of the sector. It is within our power to make a difference. As I close, I issue a challenge to all stakeholders, both public, private, and from the NGO sector. I would like to challenge you to take just one student or graduate, give them an opportunity and see what they can do. You will most likely not want to let them go. Finally, I wish you all well in your deliberations over the duration of the conference. And then I thank you.